Alright, so we are back into another Dragon Ball Super card game video. This one is another you should know as far as rulings. If you haven't checked out the last one, I think I did one last month, I want to say. Yeah, I'm pretty sure around this time last month. But if you do like these, definitely comment below. Let me know that you do like the video, of course, and subscribe if you are new. Hopefully this is helpful and to reiterate some of the new things that are coming out, and as well as some old rulings that should be reminded as we go forward into the new sets. And of course, I do get everything from the website. I base everything through different judges, and as well as the rule manual and some of the QA. I will bring up some of that as far as reference and as well as just questions in general. But the first card I do want to talk about is the new championship pack Kaba. So the first thing, or the first ruling or question that you may ask is that, can you cold bloodless a battle card and negate the effect? And this kind of comes back to what we were talking about in the last video last month as far as the two timing windows. So just to be clear, this one is a counter attack. So you negate the attack and play the card, you pay 2, and of course you get to play the card just like a Master Roshi, a Videl, etc. And it negates the attack, of course. But when you do play the card, whether it is on your turn or on their turn, basically to pay 2 on your turn or to pay 2 as a negate, and then use his auto. Your leader card is yellow, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and negate its skills for the duration of the turn. So basically as a cold bloodlust for any yellow leader that you have to pay 2 for. Now the question here is, can you cold bloodlust this effect? And technically you can. But the important thing to note is that there are 2 timing windows, and what I mean by that is that for any battle card played, the person playing the card who against someone who can play Cold Bloodlust should announce what they're going to be playing, or that they're going to be playing a card in response to something, or in general. So if you're going to be playing 2, you're going to say, hey, I'm paying 2 to play a battle card in a response. If there is no response, then you go to the next counter window, and what that does is negates the effects outside of the auto, like activate main or whatever it may be. The only way to prevent this is to actually activate the auto here, or to cold blast the auto here, which is the first timing window. So if someone is attacking and then in response you're saying, hey, I'm paying 2 to negate, and a response, and they don't have a response, and then count the cold bloodlust, and then you play it, and then they have a response because they now see the card, the auto effect into negating the skills for the duration of the turn still goes through because it wasn't negated for that. And as well as the attack is still negated as well after paying that too. No matter what, if they are going to be cold bloodlusting anything as far as this card goes, it is still going to negate the attack. It's not going to take that away. And this is kind of reference to the Pride and Justice Topo, similar to cold bloodlust is activated in response to this card's counterattack. Can this card's counterattack negate attack, or still negate an attack? Yes, it can. And it gets the card's skill after it ends its play, but previously activated skills resolve. And that depends on what timing window that you have. And you can always reference it in the rule book here as far as counterplay skills enter pending when the opponent pays the energy cost and declares to pay the card. And when the opponent activates a skill that it has description of this play, or when played, or after the opponent's resolve effect that has description as such as play or when played. So as soon as you declare to pay an energy cost and play a card, that's where that first timing window is, and you kind of get the rest from that. All right, next up is the new Muto Ito. Probably saying that right, I don't know. Now has a market price of 30 each, and the main reason for that is the main target for this card, outside of other cards that are going to be out pretty soon here, I'm sure, and maybe ones that we have already in the card pool, is Hide and Mastery. And this one says counterplay, just like the Cold Bloodlust. It has 2 different timing windows. It doesn't really matter for this one because it has an auto effect that will go through either way. But it says when you play this card, if it is your opponent's turn, you may place this card in the owner's drop area. If you do so, choose up to one of their battle cards with energy cost greater than their energy, ignoring barrier, and then switch to rest mode, and that can't be switched to active mode until the start of your next turn. So this is Hide and Mastery, of course. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure everybody has. It has Deflect, which isn't affected by counterplay skills, But the counterplay is the only thing. Well, let me back it up. Counterplay is only important to the timing of the card. Much like a few other cards that we have that have autos and has counterplay, like the new 1-drop Kai that prevents anything from being played for 2 or less, and then the I believe the draw a card effect still has that. That's just the timing for it. But this one says it has play this card. It just says play this card during the counterplay window option, I guess. And then after you play the card, you activate the auto effect afterwards. Just like Cold Bloodlust, I do believe this does have 2 different openings, as in, you know, you're going to say, hey, I have a response to that. Do you have a response? Which is just interesting. And then if they don't have a response and then they wait until after it's played, the auto will still go through. And then after that, the Cold Bloodlust will be useless, basically, because it'll still go through. And now I do want to mention that both this one and as well as the previous card, the Kaba, it's probably just best to keep an open energy just for battering. That's probably the plan here. I get the reasoning for this, and this is just another answer card. It is annoying, and it's going to be annoying for High Mastery players, and as well as it's going to be pretty popular when this kind of evens out into the playing field. And for those who are inexperienced or don't really know how to get around this card, and as well as the Kaba, it's going to be a lot better in the future, as far as having this as an answer, that is. Anyway, so the question is that does this get around deflect? And it does. So if you consider the timing of this as far as just the only thing that's kind of important as far as the counterplay, the counterplay itself is just not the skill, basically. This says it's not affected by counterplay skills, and then this says it has a separate auto and it just has counterplay as a timing. Just think of it as a timing. That's why it gets around it. That's why it's popular. That's why it's so much. Very good card. Hopefully it shakes up the meta a little bit in the future. So the third one here is just another reminder on the Vegito, the multicolored or the all areas green, red, and etc. Leader, where if you activate a rival, it says if you have a Furious Rush Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku in my combo area, can I activate a rival red green? And it says no, you can't. A rival checks for the original colors of the cards in the combo area. So the reason why I want to bring this up again is because in the future with set 7, we're going to have a lot of cards that states that it has to be green and as well as red, or blue and as well as yellow, or red and as well as yellow, etc., etc. So when you do see something that says when it has one color and another color in it, you have to make sure that you do pay those, not just one, basically, because of the Vegito leader is being in all areas, including the combo area, of course. But what is still up for discussion, which I still haven't found, and someone can actually tell me if that is something I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss it, because I was looking everywhere for it. If that the multicolored cards, as far as the cost, not the arrival, but everything else, if you pay something in your energy that is red and green, does that still count? I don't believe it does, but we will see in the future as they update this. For those who are a little confused of what I just talked about or spoke about, whatever the grammar is for that, is the example of Vegeta the Cruel, in which it says if multicolored card is in your energy area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. Of course, in the Vegito leader for Goku and Vegeta, you have all of the colors basically in the rainbow except for black and yellow, and that is considered technically a multicolored card. But a multicolored card in general, and by definition, is one that has a specified color both on the card and the original color, or the color of the card, basically. So if it has green and red within your actual energy area, that's the only time it will actually count. So we don't really have anything concrete as far as this goes just yet, but we will see in the future. So number 4 includes the new Meta Cooler card. This is kind of a sad one, simply because it says if your leader card is a Meta Cooler card. So if you just stop there as a quick reminder, when referencing the brackets or the type of brackets that we do have, this can be found on the website as well. This refers to the character name, not the card name, etc. And what happens is that it is only for that character name. So that means that the front side of Meta Cooler is the only side that I can actually use it for. So that extra card is practically useless on the back side. You can only use it on that front side. I think someone confirmed that through the email for Bandai, so I wouldn't really doubt that, and that's just how character names work in general. I don't know how they would be able to fix this. Maybe if it was like a yellow Frieza clan instead of just Meta Cooler, but oh well, I guess it wasn't all that great anyway. Alright, next up, just proving that there is still not a bad Few or Fu card. The new one out of the anniversary box is Fu or Few, the Dark Banisher. This one says that the permanent, if it's on the field, basically, if you hardcast it for 8 or you've overwhelmed for 4 and then 8 cards in overwhelm, your opponent can't activate skills unless they choose 1 card from their hand and then send it to their warp. So there's 2 things on this. The first one is that when we talk about skills, this literally means any skill on a card. This doesn't include permanents, similar to the Shrouded in Mystery card, in which if it's just a permanent, it's not affected by that. The permanents are permanent. It doesn't go away until like you Cold Bloodlust something, or you remove it with the remove of skills with like Kaba. This also applies to Awakening. So Awakening is a skill, which means if they awaken on your turn while you have this guy out, they do have to warp 1 card out of their hand. Which brings me to number 6. So again, this does not affect anything as far as the permanent skills, but the other thing is that this does function like the SR Universe 7 Frieza, the one that you have to crit a life to activate a skill. So if it is an auto effect, or an auto effect goes into pending, do they always have to choose 1 card from their hand and send it to warp? This is a no. As in, your opponent can choose not to warp 1 in case the auto does, in which case the autos does not go off. So this is very important to understand, because it can make or break a game in which you're swinging with leader and you don't want to activate the auto effect and draw a card, in which you play a card and you don't want to use the auto, or if you do want to use the auto versus your leader effect, in which you only have 1 card in your hand but you still want to attack, that sort of thing. So very, very important to know that. And the other thing is that to kind of pile on to this one, is that this card also is a cost, basically. So when does this card's permanent skill make your opponent send cards from their hand to a warp? Is it before or after their skill resolves? And they have to do it before their skill resolves. So if you're going to say auto and you're going to be drawing something, then you have to warp 1 first in order to pay that cost and then use that auto. If you're using Foreseeing Hit and for some reason they paid 8 for the Fu, then you have to make sure that they warp 1, or you warp 1 before you use the hit auto. If you're going to negate, then you're going to have to warp 1 and then pay for the negate and then go through that process. So there's a lot of things to kind of consider for this card, and it's a huge tempo swing. I would probably guess, like, if there's any card out of the anniversary box that is not the 1-drop Kai, that is going to be universally available and as well as meta relevant, is going to be this card. I know it's a little bit hard to get out at 4 energy, but it's not too bad with a lot of different decks. And when things go right, I think this is a really good card to, again, tempo swing, and as well as just to get 3 big boy attacks out of it. Alright, coming up in number 7, this one is the Master Roshi card in Ken. Well, this is just very popular in Green Broly, so I'd rather just talk about this, or at least use this as an example. But this also is this also applies to the new blue, the new blue Majin Buu, I do believe, the Mr. Buu that you negate is coming out of the War Martial Arts booster, and then Videl, etc. So this one says negate the attack and play the card. But with the Broly leader Awakened, you can only play up to 2 cards or battle cards on the board. So just to let you know, this, if you have a yellow open, you can still pay the 1 yellow and then negate the attack and play the card. So you kind of resolve as much as possible. If you have 2 battle cards already out in a Broly deck Awakened, then you just negate the attack, and then this is just kind of blanked out. You can still pay it, it just goes straight to drop. So if anybody ever asks you, that is it. And this is kind of a reference here in which cards which activated counter are placed in the drop area if not specified otherwise. So in the Master Roshi or Videl case, it says to play this card afterwards, after you negate the attack, but because Broly says no, you can't play any more than 2, then you can just go ahead and place it in the drop. And again, it's only the leader itself playing the card. For instance, if Planetary Mecha Frieza says, hey, I want to go and play this card in your hand, even though you have 2, the player of, or the owner of the card being played is not the original owner of the Green Broly, so that does get played, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and touch on Indestructible really quick at the number 8 spot. The new UI Goku combo is the Path to Infinite 5-drop, I do believe, for any 4-cost battle card. And then you use that 5 cost in order to evolve into the UI Goku. UI Goku ignores barrier by saying send all the cards back to their hand, but for Indestructible, if you didn't know, it's a keyword that it says it cannot be KO'd by the card skills or opponent card skills in battle and does not leave the battle area. So it's not like barrier in which it has something that it can't be chosen. It just simply can't be, it can't leave the battle area, basically. So even if they use UI Goku, it's not going anywhere. The best way to get rid of indestructible cards is two ways. And if your battle card is reduced to 0 or less by the opponent's kind of skill, or opponent's skill, is it placed in your drop area? And yes, it is, because due to game mechanics, if it goes to 0 or less, you basically just place it in a drop. The second thing, which again, that and as well as this counts as number 9, is that you can use Godstrike Beerus to remove Indestructible as a keyword and then just remove it normally with something else. Something like Leader Effect like Broly or Gogeta, the Blue Gogeta, or something else in order to do that. It is costly as far as the energy goes, but if you want to remove that Zamasu Big Boy, the Fuse Zamasu, it's kind of worth it, especially if it's just going to stay there and you know you're going to lose next turn. And finally, ending on a Zamasu note, is that the permanent in which it says if damage is inflicted to your life when you're awakened, place the top 5 cards of your deck into the drop area, and then etc. for 2 or more damage. You just multiply that. This is not optional. You have to do it. It's a permanent effect. And 2, what is the difference between inflicted and taking life? So cards like the Undying Link Zamasu, where it says if you have 5 or more energy, you may inflict 2 life or 2 damage to your life. You get to choose up to 4 energy. That is inflicting 2 damage. As in, you would go through the permanent process of 5 cards, in this case 10 cards, and then untap 4 for the card. We also have Lightning Fast Hit, in which it inflicts 2 damage to your opponent. If the opponent is Zamasu, then you just inflict 10 cards from their top of the deck into the drop, and there you go. But the difference is, with sparking effects like Dimension Magic for it, if you are playing Zamasu and you're playing Dimension Magic as the sparking effect, not the negate effect where you pay 1, you can take a life normally, because it says by adding a card to your life instead of paying the card cost. It doesn't say inflict a card from your life and then instead of paying a card cost. The same thing goes with other things that make you choose cards from their life into a different place, such as the SCR Goku and Oob, and then you choose 1 card from your life, energy areas, etc., and put it at the bottom of the order. It doesn't say inflict 1 damage from their life, choose 1 from their energy area, all that. Same thing for the big boy Zamasu that bottom decks of life. You just go through that process. All right, that's it for this video. That is 10, maybe 9, I guess, all in one, or all in all. But let me know what you think. Let me know if I got anything wrong, or if I referenced anything wrong in the comments below. Subscribe if you are new. Like, dislike, all that other stuff. Join the Untapped tourney that is starting tomorrow, I do believe. It's going to be in the description, or you can just join the Discord. But other than that, I will see you in the next one. Later.